All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
You on there?
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yep. You guys hear me okay? Good? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, April 24th. This is our regular city commission meeting. If I get a roll call from city clerk, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mercer. Here. Commissioner Yates.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
Here.
And Mayor Dantzler.
Here. Our invocation tonight will be led by Pastor Danny Bennett from St. John's United Methodist Church, and our pledge of allegiance will be led by City Clerk Vanessa Castillo. Please stand in favor.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God of love who is with us now in this very room. You never leave us nor forsake us. Your grace has brought us safe thus far, and your grace will lead us home, Lord. We thank you for making each of us in this room, every person we meet, every citizen of this city, and every city in your own image, with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. I thank you tonight, God, for these your servants, our mayor, city manager, our city staff, and our city commissioners. I give thanks for the way of service they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, joy, and hope, trusting that you alone can hold us together, O God, in your love and peace. Help us, Lord, to trust you more than our fears and our wounds and even our accomplishments. May we lean on your everlasting arms tonight. We remember the Apostle Paul writing to the Christians in Rome and his teaching that those in authority are first and foremost your servants, that honoring you and doing your will is their highest purpose, that any portion of power they enjoy is given by you. And so we pray that you would be glorified tonight through the decisions of this city commission meeting. We pray that we would have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and how our common good is upheld when we listen and respond to all in our midst. We pray that your kingdom would come here in Winter Haven as it is in heaven, through your power working in each of these your servants. May your truth be revealed. May your light shine brighter. May the voices of those silenced be heard loud and clear. Defend their cause and ours, O God, through this governing body tonight. We pray for wisdom, for strength, for courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interest of others above our own. May we act with love for the common good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person here. We thank you again for this commission, our mayor, our city staff, our first responders, our hospital staff, and all those who work to make this place we call home such a wonderful place. In the name of Jesus, whose perfect love sets us free from all our fears. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I've got to make an announcement here that I don't really want to make, but it's with a heavy heart that I want to tell everybody that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Commissioner J.P. Powell passed away. It was unexpected, and he had been down to City Hall on Friday. He had met with the city manager and others. He was feeling good. I talked to him on Saturday. He was feeling well, gaining weight, and it was a big surprise. So JP will be missed. He was highly regarded across the state. Every Florida League of Cities meeting we went to, everybody wanted to know about him. He was very well respected. He loved the city. He loved his job as a city commissioner, and he will be greatly missed. So I'd like to, at a moment this time, call for a moment of silence to remember J.P. Powell. And so if you guys would just lower your head for a minute. Okay, thank you. There will be lots more to come for honoring Commissioner Powell. But we just wanted everybody to know what the situation was, so. Okay, we've got a couple presentations tonight. One has to do with a Lupus Awareness Month. Beverly Tinsley from Minifield Lupus Foundation of America is here. So if you'd come forward, Beverly. Okay, City Manager T. Michael Stavers will read this.
Do you want to come down this evening, sir?
Yep.
So this proclamation reads as follows. Whereas lupus is an unpredictable and misunderstood autoimmune disease that can cause severe damage to tissue and organs in the body, and in some cases death. And whereas more than 100,000 in Florida and 5 million people worldwide suffer the devastating effects of this cruel and mysterious disease, and each year over 100,000 young women, men, and children around the world are newly diagnosed with lupus, the great majority of whom are women of childbearing age. And whereas medical research efforts into lupus and the discovery of safer, more effective treatments for lupus patients are underfunded in comparison with diseases of comparable magnitude and severity. And whereas many physicians worldwide are unaware of symptoms and health effects of lupus, causing people with lupus to suffer for many years before they obtain a correct diagnosis and medical treatment. And whereas there is a deep unmet need worldwide to educate and support individuals and families affected by lupus. And whereas there is an urgent need to increase awareness in communities worldwide of the debilitating impact of lupus. Now therefore, Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim May 2023 as Lupus Awareness Month in the City of Winter Haven. Lupus organizations call for increases in public and private sector funding for medical research on lupus, targeted education programs for health professionals, patients, and the public, and recognition of lupus as a significant public health issue. In witness whereof he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven to be affixed this 24th day of April 2023. Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We greatly appreciate it. We actually are having our advocacy summit right now, today and tomorrow. So this is a great accomplishment for the lupus community. We greatly appreciate the City of Winter Haven.
Thank you. Would you like to come up for a photo?
Next up, we have City Clerk Week proclamation. So you might want.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at all and other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their local, state, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the oath of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week in the City of Winter Haven, and further extend appreciation to our City Clerk Vanessa Castillo, Master Municipal Clerk and Deputy City Clerk Latanya Harris, and all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. In witness whereof he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the city of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 24th day of April, 2023. Signed Bradley T. Dassler, Mayor. Attest Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk.
Please forgive me if I'm not as excited as I usually am. I'm just really, really sad right now. Anyway, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City Attorney, and everyone here tonight. Tanya and I are happy to report that 2023 marks the 9th consecutive year the City Commission has presented the City Clerk's Office with a proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, which, as was noted, begins this Sunday, April 30th. We consider ourselves very fortunate to be members of esteemed associations such as the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, the Florida Association of City Clerks, the Polk County City Clerks Association, and the Florida Records Management Association, all which continuously provide excellent resources and guidance we look to and that enhance what we do as municipal clerks every day. We sincerely appreciate tonight's recognition and the continuous support each one of you have consistently demonstrated. We don't take this for granted. So again, thank you so much.
Next up on our presentation, we have an acceptance of the annual comprehensive financial report for the City and Community Redevelopment Agency. Dee, you want to take this or just turn it over to CJ?
So I'll just introduce it and hand it off to CJ. So this is accepting the ACFR, which is our annual comprehensive financial report. This is our audit that is done annually. And with that, I'll pass off to CJ if she has any opening comments, and then she will hand off to our folks from Marcel.
So ACFR, it used to be called CAFR. Annual Comprehensive Financial Report is 205-page document. It has our financial statements, pensions, statistics, and I want to give a big shout out to Debbie Tate, who put most of the financials together, and also Alan Weeks, who is great at doing the schedules. And now I'll turn it over to Brian Quinlan, who is our auditor with Clifton Larson Allen.
All right. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Brian Quinlan, CPA and Signing Director with Clifton Larson Allen out of the Sebring office. And joining me this evening is Jay Gray, Principal out of our Winter Haven office that you may have seen once or twice before at least. I'm going to keep this presentation at a fairly high level. Please stop me at any point at the end, wherever you may choose with any questions. I'm also available. My contact information will be on the last slide. I am going to go through basically the results of the audit and some of the financial highlights. It's just a disclosure slide. First, we'll take a look at the financial statement overview. Before I get too far into it, as your CFO mentioned, the entire ACFR by itself is well over 200 pages long. There's a section near the front called Management's Discussion and Analysis. That's going to give you your most comprehensive short look at the financial information. If you read nothing else within the financial statement package, take a look at that. And then also the CRA has a separate set of financial statements, also with the management's discussion and analysis. So that's going to give you, again, your most pointed, concise information. And then you can, go into details within the financial statements as you see. Here on this slide, we have what's called the city's statement of net position. This is essentially the city's balance sheet. All the governmental funds, all the governmental activities, and the enterprise activities all rolled up into one. Just kind of gives you a quick picture of total assets, and what's called deferred outflows of the cities is about 454 million. Total liabilities is about 236 million. And the difference between the two is what's called net position or equity at 217 million. These amounts change from year to year, as you might suspect. You have things such as significant projects, Sertoma Park, MLK Park improvements, Taxiway B, Market Piazza, and the various utility projects that will add assets to it and also take away cash at the same time. Other certain key things during the year that were important on the liability side was issuance of the 2021 B and C bonds at about 23.3 million. And also about $10.3 million in draw on a state revolving fund loan for utility projects. We'll go ahead and move on to, this is the level at which you budget, the fund level. This is just taking a quick snapshot of your general fund, revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And one thing you'll notice right here is if you kind of keep an eye on the variance column, revenues actually came in at $3 million more than budget, which is a positive thing. And expenditures were under budget, which is really good, under about $3.3 million. So you added to fund balance of about $6.3 million. So overall, very positive. Now, why did that occur? Well, you had increases in ad valorem and other taxes, some of them that you don't control, like the state shared revenues and state discretionary taxes. Intergovernmental revenue increased about $8.9 million, of which the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, or also known as the ARPA money, was about $7.8 million of that. So, and I know that you all have plans for that money going forward with various projects. Next, we'll just kind of take a snapshot view of the fund balance in the general fund, which ended up at about $23 million. You can see there, the dark blue section is the unassigned portion at about $22.5 million. You've got in the light blue, almost $1.7 million of non-spendable. That a lot of that is interfund loans and what's called prepaid items. You pay expenses in advance. You've got a little bit of restricted at $214,000 and then close to $100,000 of what's called assigned. That's just assigned through the budgeting process. So overall, and actually was talking a little bit with your CFO coming in this evening, overall, a very good position. The city is about 4 months of fund balance compared to next year's expenditures. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends a minimum 2 months. So you're in a very healthy position. Next, we'll take a quick look at your water and sewer fund and solid waste fund. Again, going back to the management's discussion analysis will provide you a little bit more information, but you can see both of these here. Water and sewer fund had a change in net position of a positive $10.7 million. Solid waste, $123,000 positive. Very good positions. And I would also recommend you take a look at what's called the statement of cash flows. That tells you even more important information about your two significant enterprise funds. So overall, a healthy position with those. We also will show you just quickly over the last 4 years, water and sewer fund change in that position. Again, just remember that this is trend information. You can see that it's been anywhere between 8 million to a little over $12 million. So staying in a very healthy position as you look to expand and continue to expand with how the economy and the growth that's happening within the city. The solid waste fund change in that position, it's going to be a little tighter, of course, just due to the inherent nature of the solid waste activities, but still it's a positive change, including $123,000 for 2022. And next we'll take a look at the results of procedures. So during the course of our audit, we issue a number of reports and do a number of different things. In addition to the audit, we do what's called an examination. So we'll take a quick look here at a couple things. So underneath the financial statement audit, we do the audit of the annual comprehensive financial report of the ACFR. We also do the audit of the CRAs. We do what's called a federal single audit over major grant programs, which in this case of this year happens to be the Airport Improvement Program for Taxiway B and C, and the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, or what some are calling ARPA, because it comes out of the ARPA Act. Under the state single audit that we conducted, we looked at your wastewater treatment facility construction grant, which was doing the supply main line and related work. We also conduct an examination, which is separate and different from the audit. And that's looking at the city's compliance with the investment of public fund statutes under Florida statutes. And also we do a compliance of the CRA, and there's a number of statutory things there, plus your own CRA plan. So we issue a number of reports. The first is the independent auditor's report. That's on page 10 of the ACFR. It's an unmodified or a clean opinion. We also issue a report under government auditing standards, looking at city's internal controls. And we did one significant deficiency in internal control that we reported. That is going to be in the schedule of findings and question cost section of the ACFR, and you can take a look in more in detail there. It's called 2022-001 on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. As you may or may not recall, last year there was a material weakness regarding the CEPA. This year, much better prepared, only a couple of minor errors. So we lessened the degree of that. And the plans, basically city management has looked to that and said, we're doing a couple additional steps, and there's a plan to be in place, and its discussion is in there for you to take a look at. So there, I feel confident that the controls are going in the right direction to alleviate that. Under the federal and state single audits that we do, we issue a compliance report there. It's an unmodified opinion on the programs that we talked about, which was the FAA, the Coronavirus State and Fiscal Recovery, and then the DEP grant, the Department of Environmental Protection under Florida grant. That report will also state that we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over compliance that we consider to be material weaknesses. There's always however, there may be things that procedures did not detect due to things beyond our control. So just know that there's a couple of caveats as you read through those reports. There's also a management letter on page 200. That's prescribed by the rules of the Auditor General. So it takes care of about 6 or 7 different communications that they want us to do. Underneath that report, everything was clean except for one additional matter identified, which was identified as 2022-002 Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. And that's basically regarding documentation of grant expenditures. So anytime that you expend expenditures under a federal state award, you've got to document all the, as they happen, the expenditures. So you basically have to have a roadmap, an audit trail, if you will. So that wasn't available at the time we started conducting the audit. It wasn't available at the time that the reporting was made to the U.S. Treasury. We did work with finance in the city. We obtained a listing. We did audit to make sure that there was no compliance issues, only an internal control over compliance issue. And then management has their response in there for you to read. The last letter that we issue is an examination, as I mentioned on the previous slide. We basically rendered an unmodified opinion on compliance in regards to the city's investments of public funds, and also an unmodified opinion regarding the CRA's compliance with statutes. As part of the audit, you may have seen this slide in the past, we're required to have certain communication with those charged with governance, which is you all as the mayor and commissioners. That is the separate 4-page letter that you'll have. Please read through it at your leisure. It goes over certain things such as important key accounting practices, such as the new standard on leases that was implemented by the city. It also goes on to state there's no difficulties encountered by us during the audit. It lists out any corrected and uncorrected misstatement, which there was no corrected material misstatements, no uncorrected misstatements. No disagreements with management. It also refers to a management representation letter that was signed, and goes on to discuss that there is, we're not aware of any consultations with other auditors, which would essentially be opinion shopping. With that, I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to the city manager, the city manager's office. CJ is the CFO and her team and the various city departments. We can do an audit, but we can't do it without the help and cooperation of everybody within a city or any other type of entity. It's a lot of work. There's probably about 1,000 hours that go into an audit. And that's counting our side. That's not counting your side, which may be more than double that, just getting prepared for the audit. So we do want to say thank you. We know that I can't say thank you enough because it's a great understatement of how much that everybody has to go through to do an audit. So.
Okay, let me ask my commissioners if they have any questions. Anybody? Couple of minor questions from me. This was your first time and this was CJ's first time, so congratulations to both of you. I'm glad to get good news out of you. That's always a good thing. We had a lively debate the other night about how much we should have in reserve. Our law says we have to have 17%. We're pushing close to 30%. And my question to you is, how quick can we go from 30% to 17%? Under what scenario? Is it a crash, a recession? I mean, how fast can we go? Is that even, can you even come up with such a answer to my question? In other words, the temptation is to continue to have so much in reserves, and because of always the fear of a recession or of a crash or something. But for us to go from 30% reserves to 17%, it has to be pretty bad. So I'm trying to understand in my mind, how quick could that happen and how bad does it have to be? Is that even a logical question? I mean, it's something you can quantify or answer. Jay, I don't know, you've been around a long time. Is that something that you can help us with or not? Not really. Okay.
Well, the GFOA, what Brian was talking about, Government Finance Officers Association, they want best practices says at least 2 months. We have close to 4 months.
Mhm.
We're not going to get punished if we go from 30 to 17, but we want to maintain that 17. And anything that can, we could have a hurricane, we could have a recession, anything can take that down from 30 to 17.
So let's say we have a bad hurricane. We can go from 30 to 17 in a year.
Good.
It would be a-
2008, we probably did.
Tracy saying quicker. With a bad hurricane.
Oh, yeah. And that's only one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Mercer.
It's only one disaster. And so there may be more than one.
Well, I mean, we're not 35% then. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to get to is,
Can I read something from page 21 here?
of course, yeah, this
It
is an
says
open
the
forum.
question arises asking how much surplus is too much. A too large a fund balance should be returned, of course, naturally to taxpayers or property tax. An article published in the first quarter of 2021, Quality Cities magazine addresses this issue. The article states most professionals suggest municipal reserves should be between 16 and 33% of operating general government expenditures. The article presents a case. This threshold is too large for a Florida municipality. Florida is unique because the state constitution precludes government from overspending their budgets and using borrowed funds such as bonds, bank loans, and lines of credit to balance the budget or pay operating expenditures. For this reason, and due to the threat of hurricanes and other natural disasters, the reserve balance should be much higher than the 16 to 33% often prescribed.
You were ready for me, weren't you? She's been doing her homework. Well, what does it say? 40%, 50%? What is it?
Well, I think it says that, you should maintain the minimum of what you would set. Most places have 3 months or more in reserves.
We have 4.
And so we have 4. So, and it just means that you can set your own limits, basically, because you don't know, there's some things that have happened. You We'd have to go back and look at 2020, 2021, 2022, see what the fund balance was, see why we have a larger fund balance than what we had in those years. There's a lot of grant funding and there's a lot of monies that we may have that that we could increase our reserves this year. That may not happen. And again, because there's so many grants and funding and things out there that was available. So it may not happen next year. Even though some of the property taxes are going to increase because of growth. But also there's a time when you're going to have to provide the services. You're not providing services to all those residents. And so your budgets may increase.
Well, I agree with all that. My point is we're the ones that have to decide this
Right.
number. And I just think it's healthy for us to talk about it once in a while because my philosophy is I don't want the government having too much money in reserves, but enough. Where that number is up for us to decide and where that discussion is. And we have mandated it has to be 17%. That's the way it's been ever since I've been up here. Well, we now have almost double that. So I'm sitting there thinking, is that too much? Maybe we should spend that money on something else or give the commissioners a raise. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm being facetious, of course. But I mean, what could we do with that? That we could potentially use that's just my philosophy. And I know you probably see it differently, but that's the way I see it.
Well,
And I don't want to get to a point where, if you run up your credit card bill and you use it up and all of a sudden you have an emergency, you have no money. I'm not after that. I'm just saying how quick, so a hurricane could take us from 30 to 17, but 2 hurricanes take us from 30 to 12 to 15. Where, you know what I mean? We have to think about that. That's all I'm saying is where is that
Well,
number?
one of the things that we have done is in the recession, we use the utilities to fund, so people didn't get laid off and things. So, and now you have it back down to 12%, but maybe 12% is too much for them to pay to the general fund. Maybe solid waste, those are the enterprise funds, and they're paying a percentage to the general fund every year.
Well, as they should be.
As they should be, yes, I agree. And so, but maybe that needs to be less so they can build their reserves. And
That's all
we
good.
may need those.
Well, those are good points. And the point is, at what point do we feel like we have enough and we don't have to try to put more in the bank? That's what I'm trying to get to. Under what scenario? I saw it in 2008, 2009, we had this great recession. B. Michael and everybody else really did a great job of pulling their horns and we managed. And that was a pretty bad situation. I can't imagine it getting worse than that, maybe, but probably we have a recession. It's not going to be nearly like it was in 08. And we don't have to put all hands on deck. So we could potentially use some of this money for some of these things that we need to do. So
I
Mr.
think we have
Mayor.
a lot of projects that we need to do. We're just don't have this is a 1 year. We just don't have all of the projects within sight right now.
I know, I understand.
And we do have debt. We have a lot of debt. So, and we're going to
Yep.
have a lot more because of water and the price and cost of water. And there's a lot more coming.
Go ahead.
So
You
I'm
want me
gonna
to shut
try.
up? I know.
No, you guys offer tremendous insight and I'll offer this. And first of all, I think the question of what's an appropriate amount to have within your fund balances, not so much a question for the auditors to answer. That's more of a policy amongst the body here.
Oh, yeah.
They'll tell you if you're not in compliance with that policy, but as to what's an appropriate amount, that's not really their lane to offer that. But here's the takeaway that I would extend. Your policy today says 17%, and that really protects you in the event of a natural disaster or a major catastrophe that you have to respond to. You said how much is enough? We had this discussion Wednesday night, that just because you have a targeted aspirational goal of maintaining 30%, what that does is it gives you absolute flexibility to spend down till you hit the 17%. based upon what the priorities of the commission may be at that given point in time. It's not saying you have to hold it at 30%. It's saying that this is a target that we'd like to be around so that if we have to replace a fire truck, if we get an opportunity to pursue a grant and we have a 50% match from our side that we've not accounted for because a sudden grant that comes along or an opportunity to pursue a specific project or land acquisition, you have tremendous flexibility to do that. You've got reserves to spend without jeopardizing your 17%. So what it does is it gives you the cushion that gives you ultimate flexibility in making financial decisions that don't have a lasting impact as they would if it was, say, a borrowing.
I agree with all that, T, and I'm just you've heard me say this plenty of times, and we've done it. You be bold, you go for things, you're bold when times are good. You don't, when times are scrappy and you're barely making it, you don't get bold, you pull in your horns. And we've done that. We built the field house under that premise. We went big and we borrowed and it's paid off swimmingly. And we've done that with a lot of things, but times are still pretty good and you can't be bold. You can't really push the city forward when times are tough. Now times are, I don't want to miss an opportunity, but on the other hand, I want to, I don't know. Anyway, everybody's tired of wanting me to shut up. I get it. Last question, and you've heard this a million times, and I'm gonna ask this question in honor of JP Powell.
There you go. We were
Jay?
just wondering about this.
Jay, are we in good shape? Jay gives us a thumbs up. Okay, I'm happy.
Thank you. Thank you for
All
doing
right.
that, Mr. Mayor. We were just discussing that JP would not be here to ask that question.
We
He's
know
done
that
it
I've
every
already asked
single
it
year.
10 times.
I have just one more thing. to say.
Okay,
On, some of these projects and the cost, the increase that we're all experiencing and everything. Some of those costs, that's how you balance them. A lot of times is from the reserves. All of these costs coming up. And so we're going to experience more. And one of these days, we may want to get into electric vehicles.
And Commissioner Mercer,
We have to change our fleet.
to go along with that, and that's, when we get to the discussion on the financial policies that we've recommended, that's really the big takeaway is that if 30% is aspirational, what's above that 30%, take it off the top and put it back in to settle out those cost overruns that we have no control over. And I think that saves the commission a lot of stress in having to make hard decisions on how to fund things, and it just solves that puzzle early on.
I'm not a big spender. I'm usually pretty conservative, but I like to have a little cushion. So
we got a big cushion. And I will tell you, at least I'm not yelling my mouth about having two budgets anymore. Remember when I started doing that for several years?
I do.
And I still think we should do that, but I'm not gonna say it, so. All right. Anybody else for these fine people? Smart people. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I think the staff recommendation is that the commission formally accept.
Yes,
ACPR.
I will accept the motion from somebody.
Motion to formally accept ACFR.
Yes, it's hard to get used to saying that.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to accept ACPR. We'll close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. If you have no developments to note, commissioners, you have the minutes from the March 13th, 2023 regular city commission meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
motion to approve the minutes for March 13th, regular city commission meeting.
thank you. We have a motion to approve March 13th, 2023 regular city commission meeting. I'll close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to these minutes, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We're open city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion passes. All right, comments from the audience. Nobody signed up, but if there's anybody in the audience would like to address us, please come forward at this time. Okay. On to ordinance second reading public hearing. This is item 8A on your agenda. This is O-2318. This is a voluntary annexation of 3070 Westlake Hamilton Drive. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-23-18, an ordinance extending the corporate limits of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, so as to include therein additional territory lying contiguous and adjacent to the present boundaries of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, describing said additional territory, repealing all ordinances in conflict with, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. General location 3070 Westlake Hamilton Drive. The area covered by this request is 1.54 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, nothing has changed on this item since first reading. Staff recommends the City Commission approve ordinance 023-18 on second reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move approval of ordinance 023-18. Second reading.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion to approve 023-18. I'll close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. 023-19, this is an ordinance amending ordinance 022-67. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 0-23-19, an ordinance of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, amending ordinance number 0-22-67 regarding appropriation of funds for defraying expenses of the municipal government of the city of Winter Haven for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2022, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, much like the discussion we just had on fund balance, this pertains to adjusting some funds into the construction fund to account for higher construction costs associated with the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center and increase that budget. So it is the fiscal year 22 surplus dollars that will be transferred in. Nothing has changed since your first reading, and staff recommends City Commission approve ordinance 023-19, approving a transfer of $5,151,147 of the general funds 22-23 surplus to the 2015 construction fund for the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center project. This is second reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move approval of ordinance 023-19, second reading. Public hearing.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve 023-19. I'll close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes.
Mr.
Commission-
Mayor,
Yep,
going into consent agenda, if we could
Okay.
just offer a comment on that, please.
yes. Commissioners, which one item?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, Commission, items 10A, 10B, and 10C, dealing with the interlocal agreement with Haines City. At the Wednesday work session, it was my understanding that Haines City City Commission was going to consider and approve those agreements at their meeting on Thursday last week. They did not. They are going to approve those. They're scheduled to be approved at their next regular meeting on May 4th. So I want you all to continue to approve those tonight, if that's your view, but I would like for you to just separately vote on 10A, B, and C as a unit, and make that motion subject to the approval of the Haines City City Commission.
Should we put a time limit on it within a month or 2
No,
months or?
I wouldn't do that. It's just subject to approval. And if for some reason it comes back, we'll report. It's not an agreement until they approve it.
And Mayor, Commissioner, that their lack of approval on that was not from conflict in any way. It was simply not timely to get that on their agenda.
Okay,
Yeah, that was
Staff, it was a
yeah.
staff delay on their side is what my understanding is.
You're saying A through D?
no.
10A, B, and C.
What about D?
Oh, D, D2.
All four of them.
Pardon me?
Correct, you're right. D, A, B, C, D.
Right,
Mr.
I'll
Mayor,
yep.
Move approval
Well,
of consent agenda items A, B, C, and D, subject to the approval of the corresponding cities.
and Mayor Pro Tem, my apologies. It's actually not A, that's a traffic control agreement.
It really is.
It's 10B, C, and D.
B, C, and D.
Okay. So to be clear, the motion is item 10B, 10C, and 10D
That's correct.
Yes.
pending approval of the Haines City Commission. Okay, we're clear on that. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody want to speak to this item on the consent agenda, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the city commission meeting, close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, you guys clear on what we're voting on?
Yep.
All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. All right, next we have item 10A, 10E, 10F, 10G, and 10H.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
move approval of 10A, 10E, 10F, 10G, and 10H.
In its entirety. Okay,
Thanks.
okay, we have a motion to approve the, what he just said.
The balance of the consent agenda.
That's not considered.
It's been a long day.
Huh?
It's been tough.
Yeah, well, a little off today.
As long as you come up with it.
All right, so I will close the city commission meeting and open a public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to those items, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments on any item in the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. Okay, on to resolutions R 2324. This is an acceptance of warranty deed by Mark T. Macy. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number R 23-24, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, affirmatively accepting the conveyance of that certain real property from Mark T. Macy to the City of Winter Haven, Florida, as more particularly described in the warranty deed executed by Mark T. Macy to the City of Winter Haven and recorded on February 1, 2023 in Official Records Book 12568, pages 751 and 752, Public Records of Polk County, Florida, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, this resolution formally adopts the real property or accepts the real property from Mark T. Macy. So staff recommends City Commission approve resolution R 23-24. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
R 23-24.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve R 2324. A closed city commission meeting, open a public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this resolution, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. Item 11B on your agenda is R 2325, request by Central Avenue Library LLC for final plat approval. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23-25, a resolution approving that certain plat entitled Cassidy Office Campus Phases 1 and 2 for filing in accordance with Chapter 177 Florida statutes, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors and establishing an effective date. General location 346 Central Avenue East. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, Attorney Manager.
Mayor and Commissioner, Central Avenue Library LLC is requesting final plat approval for the Cassidy Office Campus Phases 1 and 2. Subdivision is consistent with primary activity center, future land use in the mixed use zoning assigned to the property. Staff recommends City Commission approve resolution R 23-25.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move for resolution R 23-25.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve R 2325. Close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Questions, comments, commissioners? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion passes. R 2328, financial management policy. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23-28, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, adopting a comprehensive financial management policy that promotes that budget best practices and includes an update to the city's fund balance reserves policy, making findings, providing for repeal of all conflicting resolutions, severability and the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, the purpose of a financial policy is to establish and maintain effective management of the city's financial resources, and written and adopted financial policies have many benefits, including long-term strategic planning, acceptable and unacceptable courses of action, parameters in which the city can operate, provide continuity over time as staff and elected officials may change. They promote sound financial management. The proposed financial management policy has been developed to provide the basic framework, the overall financial management and operations of the city, provide the basic guidance to promote sound financial management. We discussed this at length Wednesday evening. Certainly myself and CFO Scott are happy to engage further in those discussions this evening. Staff recommends the City Commission approve resolution R 2328. I just want to reiterate that a lot of this is things that we've been doing. Some of it was formalized in policy, but it really captures a more comprehensive and robust financial policy in writing that will become part of our budgeting process and our year-round management.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move approval of resolution R 2328.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve R 2328. I'll close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, the motion passes. All right, ordinance first reading. This is an ordinance amending ordinance 1638 relating to water, reuse water, sewer, refuge service, stormwater, and other municipal service deposits. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O 23 an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, amending chapter 19 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida regarding interest on customer deposits relating to water, reuse water, sewer, refuse service, stormwater, and other municipal services accounts by deleting the requirement to place any such deposits in interest-bearing accounts and allowing a non-dash interest-bearing account for such deposits and other related deposit provisions, making findings, providing for repeal of all conflicting ordinances, severability, codification, the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City minutes, this is nothing we're voting on tonight, but I will ask commission if they have any questions or comments on this. You got something?
I thought we were going to try to keep the interest on those accounts. Are we not?
We've not changed our recommendation from the meeting on Wednesday. My takeaway from Wednesday evening's discussion was there was interest in the commission having us explore further opportunities separate from this that would address refunding of deposits at some point in time after so many years of service. I'm not in a position to offer a recommendation on that this evening. I'd like for our staff to explore best management practices of what some other utility service providers are doing in that regard. But Commissioner Mercer, our take on the interest-bearing aspect of the accounts is that it is a very minimal benefit to do so, particularly at what the cost is in trying to manage that. That does go back to the customer. And I'll ask CFO Scott if she has some more insights on this, but one of the things that we have discussed is the rate that we describe within the fact sheet itself is based upon our current deposit amount, which I believe is $180 is what the deposit is. Many of our accounts that were set up, those older accounts, are significantly lower in terms of the deposit. And that annual interest is 67 cents a year that we're trying to manage and calculate and apply back to those accounts. So putting it in a non-interest bearing account, granted, they're getting back 100% of that deposit when they close their account, less any non-payment, which is often the case. What we'll see is that final bill will be take that from the deposit and then refund the rest. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll vote on this on 5/18 or 5/18, 5/8, excuse me, May 8th.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, next up, public hearing. This request by Sheldon Rice to assign residential low future land use to an annexed parcel. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O 23-16. An ordinance amending chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances. This should be ordinance O 23-15. An ordinance amending ordinance 11-03, the 2025 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan by revising the future land use map series by assigning residential low density future land use to an annexed parcel, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. General location: a parcel is generally located south and west of Old Bartow Lake Wales Road, east of Waters Road, and approximately 2,516 plus or minus feet north of Whitten Cemetery Road. The area covered by this request is 65.92 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioner, Shelton Rice is requesting the city assign residential low density future land use and multifamily residential low density R3 zoning to an annexed parcel totaling 65.92 plus or minus acres. This parcel was annexed into the city January 23rd of this year. Petitioner proposes to develop a property with residential, but a specific product mix and unit count has not been determined at this time. At the maximum density of 12 dwelling units per acre allowed by the R3 zoning district, which is what is being requested, the theoretical maximum number of units is 659. This is a large-scale future land use amendment. So review by the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and other state and local agencies will be required. There's comments within the fact sheet supporting water and sewer and transportation infrastructure, noting that there's sufficient capacity to support these requests. However, concurrency will be determined at the time the property receives site plan approval and is developed. Based upon that maximum development potential of 659 units up to 137 elementary, 57 middle, and 95 high school seats may be required. You may recall that Polk County Schools is nearing completion on the South Point Elementary, which is just to the west of this property. Requested the requested low density future land use is consistent with the surrounding city uses and designations, and the requested R3 zoning is consistent with the residential low density future land use designation and the PUD, which is assigned to the Peace Creek Village located just to the north of this. Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval, and staff is recommending City Commission approve ordinances 2315 and 2316 on first reading and transmittal of ordinance 15, this one that you're receiving right now, to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and other state and local agencies for review.
Okay, so yeah, we won't know when we'll be voting on this.
You'll vote on 15 this evening.
Yeah, you vote on just, it's the only thing,
Transmit it.
it just, yeah,
Do what now?
you vote on a motion to simply transmit it to the DEP.
Yeah, we're voting to transmit, right?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Move approval of all 2315 to be transmitted to DOE.
Got it. I'll close the city commission meeting and a public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this, please do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. My only question, Eric, and I'm asking you to speculate. That's a big piece of property. How many ingress and egress do you anticipate being allowed? How many roads going in and out of that property? Any way to know?
Total speculation. I haven't seen a site plan yet. It does have significant frontage on Old Bartow, Lake Wales Road, and it kind of curves. So I would guess that the developer would want at least 2 ingress and egress, one on the north side and one on the east side.
And they're probably going to ask for 3 and settle for 2 potentially. Or 1 with a traffic light, maybe. I don't know. I guess I'm speculating, so, okay. All right, any other questions? All right, we'll take this up when we hear back from the DEO.
Mr. Mayor, if you'll have both.
Yeah, sorry. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Okay, 02316, a request by Sheldon Rice to assign multifamily residential, low density R3 zoning to annex parcel. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-23-16, an ordinance amending chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida by assigning multifamily residential low density R-3 zoning district to an annex parcel, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors and providing an effective date. General location of parcel generally located south and west of Old Bartow Lake Wales Road, east of Waters Road, and approximately 2,516 plus or minus feet north of Whidden Cemetery Road. The area covered by this request is 65.92 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a companion ordinance that deals with the zoning.
This has to go to DEO 2 on the separate votes. I need a
No,
commitment.
sir, this one does not.
Oh, does it?
This one can just get advanced to second reading.
Okay,
And we won't have this one come back until the ordinance 2315 is back from the DEO. So not sure when that adoption hearing will be, but
so what does the motion need to say?
I don't.
No motion.
No motion.
Okay,
Just it will go to second reading once we get our response back from DEO on 15.
okay, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioners, questions or comments on that? All right, on to new business 13A, and it's an endorsement of a community development block grant. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no title. I'll defer to City Manager.
City Manager?
So just as a reminder, the Polk County administers the city's funds and program as it pertains to community development block grant allocations. And those funds must be utilized in an eligible area. So as part of our 22-23 budget, $1.9 million is allocated towards the Lake Conine Recreation Elements Project. That budget includes existing city funds, a Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program grant, and an initial CDBG grant from Polk County. Staff is continuing to work with the design team on the final design of the recreation elements portion, and we're recommending that we allocate CDBG funds in the current program to further supplement that budget. Additional funding above this year's budget allocation is anticipated to be needed, and staff is working on a funding strategy which includes earmarking this fiscal year CDB allocation of $283,599 as additional funding towards that project. Staff recommends the commission open this agenda item for public comment and endorse utilizing the 23-24 community development block grant allocation towards the Lake Conine Recreation Elements Project.
Commissioners, any questions?
Question.
Okay.
In fact, I actually got a call today about this project. And the concern is that was it going to be completed? And I was thinking, I thought that the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, that we were going to have at some meeting that it was going to be introduced to the community, let them know the status. Did we ever do that?
So I'm going to defer to Andy on our public engagement there. We did do some, we had a commission action that approved for us to begin the surcharging efforts on this park. You may recall, because we've got some soil issues up there.
We did, but I'm just saying.
Public aspect of it.
We are, as we've been honing in our design, and it became apparent that we had to do the surcharge phase. We moved forward with the surcharge phase so we could get that going. We are working on a press release and some information for the community right now to give them information on the surcharging so that we can get that out there. So folks know what's going on as trucks are piling dirt on that and that sits for the 7 months. Where later this spring, early summer, we're going to have some public engagement opportunities. So which will bring back the design of the overall park and what the trails look like, what the playground looks like, what the access looks like. So that will be, like I said, later this spring into early summer.
Okay,
So that is on our radar.
when you got a call, this morning. This morning I got a call.
I got one this afternoon as well.
Did you?
Maybe the same person.
Probably. But anyway, that's what I was.
Andy, what's the difference between a boat dock and a fishing pier? They look the exact same on the map.
That is this is a very conceptual plan. It's a boardwalk. It was in this case, it was a boardwalk and boat dock and fishing pier that all connected. Then again, this probably won't look exactly as it does here.
So can you fish off a boating dock or can you tie your boat up to a fishing pier?
That was the question.
Yes. Yeah, there will be different elements that you can actually do that. Yeah. I mean, it's being designed in a way that, yes, that you can do that.
Okay, and what does portage mean?
It's a kayak launch. You would
portage?
schlep your kayak up and down the bank, basically.
That's different than the kayak launch.
No, it's the same thing.
Oh, right, yes, it's the kayak, there's a kayak launch into like, this was a like I said, an early concept with some of at one point, we thought some of the interior wetlands may be able to be kind of a little water trail. That has turned out to probably not be the case. So, where it's showing portage, that it probably is not accurate.
Mr. Mayor, for clarification, the kayak launch would be where you would launch a kayak into Lake Conine. The portage
makes
would be
sense.
where you would cross from Lake Conine into one of the wetland storage areas if you were to kayak in there. So as Andy used the word schlepping your kayak, it's basically portaging it over the earthen berm there.
And again, I don't mean to be facetious, but you got a bat house and an osprey tower. Do bats and ospreys get along? I'm just wondering if ospreys might eat them. I'm just teasing. That's just the way my brain
Into that.
works.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
move approval of the endorsement. CDBG 2023-2024 cycle to be allocated towards the Lake Conine Recreation Element project and public comment.
let the bats fend for themselves. Okay, we have a motion, a long motion, but we appreciate the motion. I will close the city commission meeting. Open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Next, we have a developers agreement for Forrester USA Real Estate Group. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no title on this one for the city.
Oh, yeah, sorry. City Manager?
So Mayor Commissioners, we discussed this again Wednesday evening, but just as a refresher, this is a proposed developers agreement which defines the rights and responsibilities of both parties with respect to the development of property commonly referred to as Harmony on Lake Eloise. This clarifies and defines the location of the overall roadway network, phasing schedule for the construction of the realigned West Lake Eloise Road, affirmation as to the requirement of sidewalks, affirmation of the developer's obligation to construct the roundabout, as well as the obligation to monitor the traffic signal at Snively Avenue and American Superior Boulevard to determine if signalized traffic control becomes warranted. Requirement to conduct an additional traffic impact analysis should ordinance 01612 revised be further amended to add units or change uses. Discusses lighting standards, provides an easement to the city over a future monitoring well. Also transfers the Southwest Florida Water Management District consumptive use permit to the city. Staff recommends approval of the developers agreement with 4-Star USA Real Estate Group, Inc. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Move approval of the developers agreement.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the developers agreement on closed city commission meeting. Open a public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. City commission liaison reports. Commissioner Mercer, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, I attended the Urban Forestry Advisory Board meeting. They presented the urban forestry plan and they was seeking the board's input and also citizens' input on shaping the future of our city trees and what that canopy would be, what type and percentages and everything. I did stop by clean it up in Winter Haven, but it was raining, so I went on to work.
I'm a bummer for that event.
Yeah, so also attended the Polk State College Night of Legacy and it was a very nice event and I attended the Library Peeps judging contest. I was one of the judges because I was on the board, their liaison. And they really have, I think, up to 14 years and what they do with peeps, those little spongy chickens and rabbits and whatever, candy. One of them even had a mechanical slide on it. So it's there's some very talented kids out there and creative. Also attended the oath of office at Normal Hall. The Winter Haven Fire Department had the pinning of 3 battalion chiefs, the first time ever. And it was, we really have some nice chiefs in the fire department. A lot of those were there to be included in the presentation and the indoctrination, I guess, of the fire chief, the battalion fire chiefs. And so we really can look forward to having some leaders and in the fire department, some new leaders too. We have a mixed, so we'll have it all covered. So that was all I think I did.
Okay, Commissioner Yates.
Thank you. So I attended the Grace Counseling ribbon cutting. Grace Counseling is mental health, and they are in the offices located where the old Sheriff Bun and Chilton law firm was located. So I think mental health is at the forefront of the medical conversation these days, and the more services like that come into Winter Haven is a positive thing.
They use the whole building?
No, it's about maybe 3 offices or so, and there were old law books still there. They didn't take all the law books out, so just thought that was interesting. I also attended the public safety oath of office. The other thing I'd add there is, all 3 were promoted from within, and I think that's always a big important piece of the puzzle of a successful community, successful fire, police, is those individuals who work their way up through the ranks and choosing to stay in Winter Haven is a great thing. So congratulations to all 3 of those gentlemen. I attended the Ritz board meeting. Unfortunately, the interim director that they hired has decided to move on and take another position. That wasn't exactly a planned thing. She was not aware of it, but it was an opportunity that she couldn't pass up. So the Ritz is now seeking another director, and so hopefully they'll find that person rapidly. I attended the Florence Villa CRA meeting, the Polk Vision Community Conversations with Fred Hyde. Superintendent Hyde came and spoke to Winter Haven, I think it was last week, and gave an update on Polk County schools and what he's seeing, and answered a lot of questions. So I appreciate Superintendent Hyde attending or choosing to hold one of those events here in Winter Haven. Attended the CFMPOA and meeting in Orlando. Don't ask me what all those initials, it's for traffic. But basically at the end of the day, it took me 2 hours to get there for an hour-long meeting and 2 hours to get home. So that was my travel on I-4 that day. And, I think one of the main things that was discussed there is that every community is seeing traffic issues. It's not a unique problem to Winter Haven. It is all over. And so, hopefully with continued efforts and continued funding at the state level, we'll continue to see our roads improve and transportation improve around Central Florida. Also attended the Polk State College Night of Legacy. And last thing I'll say is just, my condolences go out to the Powell family. Travis and Kim, our prayers are with you. My family's prayers are with you. And, JP was in my life for as long as I can remember. He and my dad worked together at Otlaughlin with Powlott, and so my memories go way back with JP. And he always said it was special and cool that I was able to serve on the commission for the time with JP, and so he will be sorely missed on this commission and in this community and by our family. And our condolences again go out to Travis and Kim, and prayers are with them.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
All right, thank you. I also would like to express my condolences to the family. Had the distinct pleasure of serving with him his entire tenure on the city commission. Going to be sorely missed. I attended the Central Florida Regional Plan Council meeting. It was held in Chula. And at the TPO meeting. And at the Lakes Advisory Committee meeting, and also I was at the public safety sort of dealing with some issues of my own. brother-in-law and friend passed away last Thursday. And my wife's sister had a stroke. She was on life support. Another good friend of just got, well, since I've been here, in this meeting, has passed away this afternoon at my church, leaving behind kids. Wife had already died some years ago, so it's just been a tough last 7 days.
My condolences to you, my friend. Wow. I'll be brief. Had a Polk Vision meeting over in Lakeland. We met at the United Way, and if you guys remember that report we went over at the workshop, that United Way report on all the community goals, they gave that to us and went in depth, had United Way people there and went over it in depth with us. And then I filmed a video for the Winter Haven and Lake Region High School graduation. So if you want to see the video, get there early. And that was a hoot filming that thing over at the field house with everybody watching me. And then today gave comments at the Garden Club with the city manager was there on where the chamber and has started up the beautification certificates, not the chamber, but the Garden Club, the beautification awards. And we gave out the first batch of them today, and the room was pretty crowded. A lot of people were proud of those. So I was proud to be there and get that started again, because I remember how that used to be such a big deal, and we're bringing that back. So that's a good thing. So City Attorney, you got anything?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as you all noted, it's with heavy heart that we all are here this evening. Certainly prayers and thoughts continually to the family members of JP Powell. I also wanted to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all of you here tonight, and to all of my colleagues and we don't do it often enough. I wish I had done it more while JP was around, but I'm going to do it tonight and say I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here, to include all of my colleagues, the city's leadership team, citizens, and everyone. Thank you.
T. Michael, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, I have a couple items just to go through. First off, with respect to our dear friend Commissioner James H. JP Powell, we've just sent on to the clerk, city attorney. I've been trying to research this as quickly as we could here. Some direction on reaching out to the governor's office for permission to fly our flags at half staff in memory and honor of Commissioner Powell's service to the city of Winter Haven. So we will get that underway, so we are in compliance with state protocol on flags. With respect to items that are actually listed on the agenda for my liaison report, couple of things to bring to your attention. We received communication from the Polk Regional Water Cooperative. You may recall that back in 2018, I believe it was, we were in some litigation with the Peace River Minnesota Regional Water Supply Authority. And we joined with some other members of the PRWC in going through that process. The commission at that point had set aside a maximum cap of $78,000 for those legal services that we had procured at that time. We received communication about just a couple of weeks ago from the Polk Regional Water Cooperative that we still had an outstanding amount due on that, which totals $17,196.68. That is above and beyond that $78,000 that we had paid back in 2018. So I'm requesting permission to proceed with that, and I'm bringing it to you only in the sense that you originally approved $78,000. This is a change to that, so I wanted you to have an awareness of it, also so we can properly document that for future auditing purposes when someone should inquire what was that for. So if I could have a motion to approve expending that additional $17,196.68 specific to our litigation with in partnership with Polk Regional Water Cooperative.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the additional expenditure with the Polk Regional Water Cooperative.
Thank you. A motion to approve an additional expenditure to the Polk Regional Water Cooperative. I'll close city commission meeting, public hearing. Anybody want to speak to this, please come forward now. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. Questions or comments, commissioners? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item, you may recall that our procurement policy allows us to issue emergency purchase orders when necessary, and sometimes those expenses will be above and beyond what is at my spending level and things that would normally come before the city commission. So on February 19th, you may recall that we had a sewer wastewater treatment plant overflow at Plant 2 that we had to mitigate those issues with. And part of the way that that was done so that we did not shut down the system or cause any environmental degradation was to actually haul wastewater from Plant 2 via tankers and trucks to our master lift station at the field house so that it could be processed at Plant 3. So that involved using a number of different local septic companies and utility experts, private side. The total expense associated with that hauling of wastewater and sludge material totaled $167,000. So I'm asking for a post-expense approval of that ratification of those expenditures.
Okay, commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the expenditure for the wastewater treatment plant 2.
Okay, we have a motion for you to expend expenditure wastewater treatment plant 2. Close the city commission meeting, open a public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Those like sign, motion passes.
I have 3 RFQs for which I am welcome to accept your recommendations on liaison assignments for them if you feel one is necessary. The first one is the design build RFQ for South Lake Howard Nature Park expansion.
I'll take that one.
Okay,
The second one is the Willowbrook renovations.
I'll take that one.
Shock. And the third one is for auditing services. RFQ for that. You guys are great tonight. Last piece I just want to circle back on. I shared with all of you the grant and aid requests that we've received. So you had an awareness of what those requests were looking like. Also provided you an electronic copy of that United Way report. I am going to be speaking with Polk Vision. I'd hoped to have an opportunity to do that today, but certainly certain circumstances drew me other directions. But I will speak with Kim Long tomorrow at Polk Vision to see what additional guidance she may be able to offer us as we go through that process for evaluating our grant and aid applications. I did want to just reiterate, we have 19 new applications this year, 26 returning applications that are in that lower category, 3 that are in the higher category, and we had the 5 single initiatives for large capital expenditures. I didn't know if the commission had an opportunity to give any consideration to either a funding level that you'd like me to target with the grant and aid application review committee, or a priority area if there were certain things that you wanted them to focus on with funding for impact in our community. So the continuation of our discussion from Wednesday, if there was any new insights that we could offer to them. They will pick up their grant and aid application binders. I think they're available for them now. We also have a master copy if you're so inclined to want to look at those, but they'll begin their reviewing any day now.
I kind of like the recommendation that you gave for the United Way direction of those areas, but the only part to that is I don't want to exclude, an entity that might be deserving of the grant as well. So I think, that's a good place to, in my opinion, go down. But don't completely close the door if there is an entity that is deserving and and would be qualifiable.
I looked at the list and, I saw some of them that were like double entries.
So if they were let me try to explain that. If they had applied for one of those large grants, those $40,000 one-time capital, which I just don't think we're able to even consider those. We asked them to also submit in the regular category. So you may have seen them show up twice in that regard. There were a couple agencies that, there's also one that was, a larger nonprofit, but they also had a foundation. So that you would see one under both names there as well.
I'm reluctant to, are you through? I'm sorry. I'm reluctant to fund anybody that's already getting government funding, like schools, for example, if they're already getting money from Polk County school system or foundations or something where they're already getting public funding. That to me seems like we're straying from our intended use of this, but we'll see. I will tell you, I mentioned to you, I had a Polk Vision meeting and we've spent an hour and a half talking about this very topic in Lakeland at United Way, and one of the directors of the United Way was there, and I can't remember her name. She just took over for Polk Foundation. She used to be a lobbyist. Took over for John Attaway.
I can't think of her
Can't think of her name either.
I know who you're speaking of. Or Givewell.
Givewell, yeah, Givewell, but I'm trying to think of her name. Anyway, she was one of the leaders of the discussion, and at the end, I said, okay, you guys can be mayor for the day. Where do we put our focus? Because we're getting ready to have this discussion. Because they went through that whole report on the United Way that we all got. I said, where should we in Winter Haven put our focus? And they hemmed and hawed and went back and forth, and they gave me no answer. So that's how difficult this is. It was not their fault. It was just very hard to decide these things.
Hallie Nesland.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I will say this. So in reading that United Way report and where they focused or where they found that the greatest needs were, I think it very much aligns with what the city has done over the years and what your grant and aid application review committee did last year. There's a lot of focus on education programs, on before and after school programs, on feeding programs. These were all things that are noted within that. I think the report gives maybe a little more concentration of specific age groups to focus on. And I think that is a good tool to help guide maybe some of the decision making or recommendations that come from that committee. I concur with Commissioner Yates that don't exclude somebody just because they don't hit that niche. There's 6 areas or there's 5 areas. There's some other programs that are very worthy as well, but it certainly gives them some guidance of what we're looking to do. And I fully intend to share with them our focus is on Winter Haven. It doesn't necessarily have to be an agency that is housed in Winter Haven, but they are meeting a need of our residents in Winter Haven. And that's been made abundantly clear by all the commissioners over the past few years.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, did we give consideration to, not granting the increases?
I would absolutely say that, yes, I would agree with that. Last year, keep in mind, agencies that could apply for they have a maximum threshold of $20,000. They had the same thing last year, but the funds are not available to meet that. So you may have some that ask for 20 and they may only get 2,500 or 3,000.
Yeah. So that was a great portion of what.
Yes, sir. That'll bring that total funding number down.
So I guess my only other question would be, would we or do we want to consider increased funding or maintain, because we need to give some type of
We decided to stick with 305 with the option of raising it if the committee comes back and says, we really need an extra 50 grand to make this work. But
we need to say that in this meeting as opposed to.
Yeah, if they need a little extra.
Is that?
Well, I don't want to say 50. I want to say if you just need some extra, let us know. I don't really want to put a number on it because
So 305 is what they have to work with, is what I'm hearing you say. And if they come away with a strong desire that they want to do more there, they can make that pitch.
See, what worries me is somebody's asking for 20 grand and we give them 2,000. That's not gonna help them much. Maybe it will, but we have we have somebody asking for 5,000 because it's really important to them, and when we give them 500, I'd almost rather, again, it goes back, I like the smaller people that really need it versus people that are already getting a lot of public funding or what, that's just my feelings, but I don't wanna, if we cut everybody way down, we may not be able to make an impact on some of these smaller outfits that really need the money. Tracy?
Do we look at, let's just say, I know I looked at some of their last years and they may have asked for 2,500 last year and now they're asking for 20,000. And I'm saying, okay, if you only could do this much, you might be able to do double that in 1 year, but you can't do, 10 times that almost in 1 year. I mean, where do you get the people from? Do we require that they provide some statistical information on it?
Yeah, so we required reporting for the first time this year. They're giving 6-month and 12-month reporting. So any returning applicant along with their application has that 6-month report in where they're giving information, basically a return on investment report. And then their application also includes, the field is called a partial funding statement. So we ask them, if we can't give you the full amount that you requested, how would you scale the services that you're proposing to provide? So that's in their application for the committee to consider.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's better.
Good question.
Okay.
Whoever came up with that, good job.
Katrina, I'll just say Katrina,
And that sounds like something she'd come up with.
what you earlier said was that doesn't sound like something I would have come up with. Okay with that.
I'm saying you're gonna put bat sticks to ospreys. That's what I'm saying.
Reportage.
What else?
That's
Anything
all
else?
this evening, Mr. Mayor. Again, we will keep the commission and staff apprised as we learn of what will happen going forward with from Commissioner Powell's family.
Okay, thank you. City clerk.
Well, I'm not good at these things, but I do wish to express my condolences to JP's family. I'm really, really gonna miss him. I mean, worked with him since I've been here in Winter Haven, and I just would have missed him being so down to earth and just so personable and calling me kid. He would always say, "You got it, kid. Have a great day, kid." And I was never offended. It was actually just very fatherly, and I really appreciate it because I'm really close to my dad. So cancer sucks, and so I'm just really saddened by his loss. So-
We all are. We all are. We're all in the same boat.
Shock.
Yeah. Okay, motion to adjourn? Adjourn.